This past Tuesday, I found myself laying on the ground, being pelted with what felt like soft little pellets, stung again and again and again. People standing around me, laughing at me, mocking me. There was even some trash talk involved. So where was I? I was at Urban Air, specifically on the trampoline dodgeball courts for Urban Air. And that is where we had spent the majority of the 3.5 hours. Now, that's about 2 hours and 58 minutes more than what this body is designed for. Actually, no, let's be truthful. That's probably 3 hours and 15 minutes more than what this body's designed for. But that is where my little wanted to spend the majority of his time. Now, I don't have a great pitching arm to begin with, but you take all these people that are about 40% of my body mass and size, and they're hopping all over the place. I couldn't hit them for the life of me. But man, could they nail me again and again and again. So laying down in agony, just taking it all in. And I asked myself the question, why? Why do I do this? Why do we do things like this? Why do we do things we really wouldn't want to do on our own choice? Well, we do it for the kids, right? We'll do so much for our children. Just the previous week here in this room was Camp Courageous, and I would walk in, and I would see all of these volunteers, and at times they were exhausted, they were giving their all, and some of them were giving up vacation time. Some of them were taking time off of work without pay. Some were giving up their retirement time. And they were outnumbered by all these kids, and they were out-energized by all these kids. By the end of the week, I even saw our teenage volunteers starting to fade. But why do they do it? Why do people step up and do those kind of things? Well, we do it for the kids, because kids are that important to us. One of our shared values as a church, one of our agreements, is that the church's future depends on developing the next generation. And we take that seriously. With our time, our volunteers, our funds, we are pouring into the next generation. And we don't simply think that happens by you dropping off your kid or your teenager here at church and poof, an hour or two later, they leave as a lifelong disciple of Christ. It doesn't work that way. You are the primary disciples as parents, as grandparents, as relatives, as friends, as anybody, as a person of influence. You get to speak the words of Jesus, truth and life into them. So we partner with you in equipping you to do just that. And today I want to talk about wise parenting. We're in week 4 of our series on Proverbs. And the question is there anything in Proverbs that helps us in our parenting? Any words of wisdom for parenting? Well, there's a ton. We won't get to hit it all today, but there's a ton. As a matter of fact, if you remember, the book is written, a lot of it like a father to a son, over and over again. And if you're sitting here today and you're like, well, I'm not a parent, you're still a person of influence. Any kids, any teenagers, anybody that you get to lean into, you are a person of influence, and you can apply these words of wisdom as well. So let's start off with the setting. How does Proverbs set us up? What does it say? In Proverbs 9, it says, wisdom has built her house. She has carved its 7 columns. She has prepared a great banquet, mixed the wines, and set the table. She has sent her servants to invite everyone to come. She calls out from the heights overlooking the city, "Come in with me," she urges the simple. To those who lack good judgment, she says, "Come, eat my food and drink the wine I have mixed. Leave your simple ways behind and begin to learn to use good judgment." Now, right off the bat, you might be saying, okay, Doug, are you saying we should give our kids wine? No, that's not at all where I'm going with this. What I'm talking about is creating an environment where your kids love to hang out, making your house a place where your kids, your teenagers, and all of their friends just enjoy being together. And while they're at your place, it's a place where they can learn to use good judgment. It's a place where you can speak words of knowledge and wisdom into your life. And you can model it, and they can see it, and they grasp it, and it begins to take root. Growing up, I so remember my father at the end of the workday on Friday, he would go grocery shopping. And he bought in mass quantity. Guess where all my teenage friends were on Friday night? at my place because there was always so much food. We had a lot of freedom. We had a lot of fun. My mom was making homemade fudge. There was cakes. There was all the good stuff. And it was an environment where my friends just loved to hang out. And we'd spend the majority of the weekend at my house. And I find it fascinating that even decades later, even when Denise and I had our own kids and we would drive or fly home from Florida or from Kentucky to spend some time, we'd once again invite our friends, and our friends would come and join us, and we'd have these sleepovers at our house because people just enjoyed being there. And what's even more amazing is that my parents were okay with it. And Denise and I have sought to replicate, to make our home an environment where our kids, our teenagers, even our young adults want to be. And we were a place of many sleepovers and always people hanging out, and you go through a lot of food. And there are times where it's noisy, you get woke up in the middle of the night and you're annoyed, but it is so worth it. There are times where I'd walk out and say, this kitchen was just clean 2 hours ago. It's not clean anymore. But it's so worth it. And I love that our daughters enjoy continuing to bring their friends to our house, even as they no longer live underneath our roof. This past Christmas, our youngest daughter, Mackenzie, was coming home for a while from Connecticut. And she just kept on dropping, who was going to be there, sleeping over, stopping by. And I'm like, okay, I need to put this on the calendar. I cannot keep track of all this. So I went back and I looked at my notes just to give you a taste of what things were like in the Bender household. 12:27, 3 friends visiting and staying over. 12:28, Nick, the boyfriend, visiting and staying over. 12:30, Gracia, the roommate, visiting and staying over for 3 nights. And I know she squeezed in a cousin and would have squeezed in even more. And we're like, Kenzie, we'd love to be with your friends, but we also love some time with just you. She said, Mom and Dad, you don't get it. My friends don't have parents like you. They want to be here. They want to be around you. It's just different. So we want to make our homes a place where kids and teenagers just love to hang out. Another thing that we learn about parenting from the book of Proverbs is to make your home a place of learning and common sense. In Proverbs 24, it reads, a house is built. A house is built by wisdom and becomes strong through good sense. Through knowledge, its rooms are filled with all sorts of precious riches and valuables. Now, our culture today might write this parable. How might they write that? Fill your home, fill your kids' lives with stuff. Fill them with experiences, all the latest technology, all the coolest fashion trends, all the great experiences you can take them to or sign them up for. And all of those things, stuff and experiences are so incredibly good when you can offer them to your kids. But if you're making that the foundation, I believe you're missing out. I believe Solomon would say something like this. How's that working out for you? How's that working out for your family? All the stuff that you're giving your kids and filling your home with. All the experiences you are enjoying and exposing your kids to. How is that working out for you? Is it a solid foundation on which to build your home, your family? I believe Solomon would say, make God the cornerstone and wisdom the foundation of your house. You build a strong home by making your home a place of learning and common sense. You want to fill your home? That's great. Fill them with knowledge. How their heavenly Father sees them. How much He loves them. How you see them. How much you love them. Who they are, their identity in Christ when they make a decision to follow Jesus. How they're wired. Who God made them to be. Their uniquenesses, their strengths, their weaknesses. And again, we have to focus so much more on G-O-D than GPA. We need to get our priorities straight, our foundation strong. And one of the things you want to do is you want to help them learn to make the wise choice. How do you help them learn to make the wise choice? Part of it involves giving them choices to make. And there's going to be opportunities for you to speak in their life after they make choices, and you're going to be able to say both of these things. That was a great decision. So glad it worked out for you. And there will be times where you will say, that decision didn't go the way you thought it would. What did you learn from that decision? A couple months ago, there was a guy on TV. He was sort of the expert on anxiety in the upcoming generation, an anxious generation. And he had so much good stuff to say, but here's something that just is stuck in my head. He says, we have overprotected our kids in the real world, and we have underprotected our kids in the virtual world. And he went on and he had a list of all these things that we can do, but I love some of the examples. Take your kid to the grocery store parking lot, give them a paper list of things that need to be bought, give them the appropriate amount of cash, take away their phone, and say, hey, I'll be back in 45 minutes. I'll be back in an hour. Let's see how you do with this. And I think you should take your teenager to DC. Say, here's all these great free museums. Pick one. Here's a couple rolls of quarters. I'm going to meet you at this metro station at this time. Make sure they can find their way back to you. Give them decisions, choices, ownership, responsibility. But man, in a virtual world where there is so many people that are out to harm or to hurt, so many people are going to speak negative words into their life, that's where we often underprotect, and we need to step up our game. Another thing that we can learn from the book of Proverbs about parenting is to make your home a place where people are built up, not torn down. Proverbs 14 reads like this: a wise woman builds her home, but a foolish woman tears it down with her own hands. I mean, you know this. Life is rough. The world will tear your kid down, your teenager down. So you want your home to be a refuge, a safe place where encouragement is shared, where you are intentionally trying to build one another up every single day, where words of truth are spoken in love. So make your home a place where people are built up, not torn down. One of the most ineffective parenting methods is yelling. Just yelling all the time. Eventually, your kids just start to tune you out as sort of a built-in safety mechanism. And yelling is an incredibly effective way to tear someone down. You don't believe me? Sign up for basic training in the military. It works there. They yell, they say so many negative things, they tear you down before they build you back up. But it does not work in raising your children. It harms them. It hurts them. It stunts their growth. And it doesn't work out all that great in your marriage either, does it? Other ways that we can tear down our kids, our teenagers, our spouses, being critical, being judgmental, negative, complaining all the time, always pointing out and focusing on the worst in others and in our world. So I want you to think about your relationships with your kids, with your spouse, with friends, as a bank account. And every time you build someone up, you are making a deposit. And you want to build everyone up as much as possible. You want to build up this huge account. Some of the ways you build one another up: compliments, appreciation, being understanding, thinking before you speak, being positives, loving deeply and lavishly, and speaking words of affirmation. Every day, be looking for ways to make deposits to build up that bank account. Because there's going to be days where we all miss the mark, say or do things that hurt others, that tear them down. And if that bank account is already empty or low, it is devastating on your relationship. But when you've built up this huge bank account, you have time to recover, time to make things right. So make your home a place where people are built up, not torn down. Another thing that we can learn about parenting from Proverbs is to make your home a place where a life of faith is modeled by how you live. Proverbs 3. My child, never forget. Come on, hold on to it. Hold it tight. My child, never forget the things I have taught you. Store my commands in your heart. If you want your kids to never forget what you've taught them, you need to make your house a place where faith is modeled by how you live, not simply by the words that you speak. If you want your kids to never forget all that you are teaching them about life and wisdom and faith and Jesus, focus on how you are modeling a life of faith. They're watching. Even when you think they're not watching, they are watching. They are learning from both the good and the bad. The way that you treat other people, the way that you follow Jesus, the way that you talk about and interact with Jesus' bride, the church. If you want to push your kids away from a life of faith, if you want to make sure they don't remember, that it doesn't go deep in their heart, live like a Pharisee, always quoting Scripture, but treating other people, living such a legalistic way that just repels people away from God. If you want to make sure your kids forget, live like a hypocrite, saying one thing and then living another way. And then another thing I would so encourage you. I don't know if this was true 3,000 years ago, 300 years, I don't even know if this was true 30 years ago. But today, if you want your kids to hold on tight, if you want to increase the odds of your child, your teenager, being a lifelong disciple of Jesus Christ, get them serving. The earlier, the better. When they love being with you, find a place where you can serve together. When they no longer like being with you, find a place where they can serve on their own. It can be here at church. It can be in the community, in any Jesus-centered nonprofit, but get them serving. It pays huge dividends. Go to Pastor Ryan and say, hey, you know what? Would it be okay if I and my 7-year-old would greet at a door once a month? Go to Pastor Philip and say, you know what? When I touch technology, bad things happen. But my 13-year-old, they just seem to get it so quickly. They seem to be natural. Is there a place where they can serve? Approach me and say, you know what, Doug? I'd love it if I could bring my grandson or my granddaughter and we could just lead the prayer time on a Sunday morning. Look for ways that you can serve together and look for ways that you can get your child or teenager serving on their own. Now, another thing, so much from Proverbs. Another thing we can learn about parenting from Proverbs, and there's a lot on this topic, I mean a lot of Proverbs, on the importance of disciplining your children. Let me just give you two. Proverbs 13. Those who spare the rod of discipline hate their children. Those who love their children care enough to discipline them. Discipline does not have to be physical. I'm not going to, for the next 10 minutes, explain how a shepherd used their rod to protect their flock or their staff to draw them back. What I am going to say is a lot has changed. A lot has changed in 3,000 years. A lot has changed in 50 years. Some of you remember when being sent to your room was a punishment that worked because you just got bored. No phone there, no TV, no screens, no game system. Just boredom. Now, some of you today, you have the exact opposite problem, right? You can't get your kids out of their room enough because that's where all their stuff is. And you want to get them involved in family life. So being sent to your room isn't really a great punishment anymore. I mean, come on. If you go to your kid and say, give me your phone. Now, that's a punishment, right? 50 years ago, if you went to your kid and said, hey, give me the phone, they'd be like, we only have one. It's attached to the family room wall, and the cord doesn't stretch this far. 3,000 years ago, if you went for 90-some% of the population and you told your kid to go to your room, they'd say, what room? There's like 4 walls and that is it. So when you think about discipline, think about natural consequences. The punishment should fit the crime. So let's say for the past 2 weeks, you have been asking your preteen to clean up their room. I mean, there's stuff growing in there, it smells bad, and they're just not getting to it. And so you just overreact. You burst out and you say, that's it. You're grounded for 3 months. You've just signed yourself up for 3 months of misery, right? That's why timeouts are so important for parents, not just for kids, because you get to think through what is a natural consequence. So instead you say, hey, here's the deal. This is where it's going. All the technology, the phone, the computer, the game system, the tablet, everything, all the technology, no longer accessing family TVs, nothing until your room is clean. And it's rough, right? It's not easy, but you hold fast, you hold true. And then you say, here's what's going to happen. For the next 12 weeks, whenever you come home, now that your room has been cleaned, you're going to put all the technology on the kitchen counter. You're going to make sure your room is clean before you engage in anything with technology. Why 12 weeks? Well, 12 weeks sets a habit, right? And honestly, it might not work, but at least for 12 weeks, you had a clean room and you set a pattern for natural consequences, a punishment that fits the crime. And kids, if I can just speak directly to you, your parents discipline you because they love you. Your parents discipline you because they want what is best for you. You don't have to like it. You don't have to agree with it. You might develop a full-blown PowerPoint presentation on why brilliant people have messy rooms. But at the end of the day, you can obey them because you know they are doing it out of love. They are doing it out of what they think is best for you. And parents, not only does Solomon say that a lack of discipline shows a lack of love, but in Proverbs 19 he says, discipline your children while there is hope. Otherwise, you will ruin their lives. A lack of discipline sets them up for a life of failure, a life of ruin. When they leave your home, they've been set up for failure by who? By you. Maybe you're just tired. You're exhausted. You can't fight one more battle, so you don't discipline. Maybe you've mixed up your role and you're more concerned about being their friend than being their parent. Maybe it's because your priorities have got out of whack. There are a lot of great reasons and great excuses for not disciplining your kids or your teenagers. But the lack of natural consequence discipline is setting them up for ruin, for failure. So you want to make your home a place of loving discipline characterized by natural consequences. one more thing from the book of Proverbs. So many more, but one more thing that we can learn about parenting. It deals with peer relationships. There's so many. Let me just give you 3 examples. In Proverbs 13, walk with the wise and become wise. Associate with fools and get in trouble. Proverbs 27, as iron sharpens iron, so a friend sharpens a friend. Proverbs 22, don't befriend angry people or associate with hot-tempered people. Why? Or you will learn to be like them and endanger your soul. You have a say in your kids' friends. You can say, you know what? I don't want you hanging out with them anymore. You're not going to their place anymore. They're no longer coming to our home. But peer relationships make such an important impact in the direction of your child or teenager's life. Remember whenever we moved to Lancaster from Maryland, it was the middle of 5th grade for the one daughter and the middle of 7th grade for the other daughter. 7th grade's rough no matter what, right? But being the new kid in the middle of the school year, I was so impressed by Denise and how she daily was praying for that right friend for our oldest daughter, Michaela, praying over and over and over and over. And God answered that prayer. And this summer, my daughter and her husband are doing a road trip to the Midwest to visit that friend. But man, peer relationships can have a huge impact on our lives. So I want us to make our homes a place where healthy peer relationships are on display. Not just for our kids, but we're modeling it in our own lives. Because peer relationships are important when you're 7 or 17. They're important when you're 37 or when you're 77. That's what Solomon would tell us. This past week, it was Tuesday morning, I was having coffee with a guy I was in a mentoring group with 30-some years ago, just catching up, but a friend that we can pour into one another. Wednesday night, met my high school best friend and his wife. We were all in each other's weddings, and we had a 3-hour dinner that went by just like that. But when you have good peers in your life, you model it and your kids see what is going on. Now, if I hadn't tested positive for COVID, just a few hours on Sunday at our house were friends from New York that were coming in for lunch and an afternoon of just being together. And here's what I've noticed. Whenever we have friends together and we have people at our house, I love how our daughter who's in town just loves to stop by, loves to see us interact, loves to be a part of these relationships that she's been a part of for her entire life. But at the end of the day, we are modeling the importance of peer relationships. People who can build us up, people who can sharpen us, people who are there for us in the good times and the incredibly rough times. Here's what I'd love to do. If you and your kids, whoever, if you have some time at the end of service on your connection card, here's what I would love from everyone. Would you be willing to share some wisdom? Write a simple proverb, a simple sentence on one thing that has worked for you in parenting, or if you've ever parented, one thing that has worked for you when somebody was parenting you. Just a simple sentence, a simple proverb. Let me give you one example. In our basement, there's a plaque of like Bender sayings, and one of those things was, give God your best and forget the rest. Give God your best and forget the rest. If you studied, you prepared for an exam, and you got a C and that was your best, we're asking for nothing more than that. Give God your best and forget the rest. But what's a parenting proverb or a sentence that worked for you in parenting your kids or when you were growing up and you were being parented by your mom and dad? Love to hear from you. Love to be able to share that with one another in the weeks to come. But Proverbs is filled with words of wisdom on how we can parent our children, our teenagers, how we can show that the next generation is so incredibly worth it.